couple agenda items. So I'm going to look for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Second, any requested changes to the agenda? If not, all in favor of approving the agenda as drafted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, next is approval of the consent agenda, which has a number of first, second, third class liquor licenses.
Second.
Seconded. Any comments on the consent agenda? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll get into our retreat discussions, and then we do have a little bit of business afterwards. So one of the things that we talked about was having just kind of a brief introductory biography from each person, share your priorities for the upcoming year as you see it. So one particular end that would prefer to start? Go ahead.
It's the shortest biography.
I am Isabel Godey. By day, I am a teacher at our local middle school, so I come to this board with that perspective. And like I've shared with the community a lot, something that's really important to me is that all people feel a sense of belonging. So things that are really important to me are just feeling like I can attend programs, even if I don't necessarily have the time or traditionally the money to be a part of a town in that way. So programming is really important to me. The library is really important to me. I think about how many third places adults in our community have. And there's if you're not buying a drink and if you're not buying a meal, there's not really a lot of places for adults to just meet for free, and same with kids. So last week's presentation on diversity, equity, and inclusion is also something that's really important to me, making sure that all people see themselves in this community, feel represented in this community, as well as recognize what they can do to improve the community and feel like they have a voice in that. So I represent young people. I'm a renter who uses the laundromat every week. I'm someone who's in their first career and intentionally chose Middlebury. And I don't want what happened to Esther, where she lost her rental and it wasn't something that she was able to continue with, happen to me. And that's continuously a fear of mine as a renter. So I'm here as a renter. I'm here as a first, time employee and someone who hopes to stay here for a while.
I'm curious what you're thinking when you say program. What areas of accessibility?
Yeah, so I really like the work that Parks and Rec does. I think the programming that they do is a revenue source for us, and it's also a source of people seeing community. And I know just recently the library did CPR, first aid. Like, I just think of these things that people don't necessarily think is like, oh, like, this is my go-to group. I am lucky to be a part of those through like paid fitness at Vermont Sun, but I wonder like what other opportunities are out there. The library with book clubs, gardening clubs, as well as a lot of other outside programs like youth sports, Tai Chi, archery, chess club, thinking about things that we do at the middle school and at the high school level. Like, could we mimic that for adults? Because that would be really fun and build people, being engaged. And when they see Town of Middlebury emails, like, I want to know what's going on, and I want to continue to sign up for programming, and I want to continue to be involved with the decision-making process.
Great.
Thanks for the question.
I own a small business in this town. I come from India and I've been on this for about 6 years now, I think. What's my priorities? I think it's pretty consistent with the rest of the select board. We've been talking about this the whole year, what we want what are our priorities. Housing is one of them. Of course, library is on the horizon right now. These are my priorities. I used to be a big fan of the broadband, which Maple Broadband has a presence now in the town, so I'm happy about that. But also there's a lot of new players coming in, like Fidium is making big inroads. So I think we should be okay on that one. Infrastructure, I think, I do not like infrastructure competing with any other projects because it's a very important thing. That's the lifeline of our town. That's a priority without saying it's a priority, I think, any of those projects. Yeah, that's where I am right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm retired by day. I'm a vampire at night. Or,
Your name, please.
what's that?
Your name.
Oh, I'm Dan Brown, and I'm former owner of the Swift House Inn, and I am retired. I'm the oldest on the board, and I think I bring my business sense to the board, and I've only been in town for about 20 years and served on lots of different nonprofits in town, and I have that experience. I think my priorities are the library. I think it's a incredibly important project that we need to get off dead center with, and hopefully we can come up with the funding to accomplish that. Of course, housing and daycare are what we all should be talking about. Another one is interest to me, and this is partly due to my experience as an innkeeper, and also the experience we have with short lack of housing in town, and that's short-term rentals. I think we need, as a town, need to address those. I think the state has made a weak attempt to address those. And I also, again, I think we do this like every other year, but resurrect the EDI site, Bakery Lane, whatever we're going to call it. We need to do something to start that and get that moving again. So.
Nate?
Wanna swing over to you?
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm Lindsay Fuentes George. I've lived in Middlebury for about 13 years, 12 years. And I think in that time, I think when you start out at a new place, you see things that are wrong with it and right with it in stark contrast. And the longer I've been here, the more I'm seeing the good things about our community and just wanting to increase those. My priorities for the year are the library, which I think is a community hub that's for everyone and accessible to everyone and offers so many things that aren't offered elsewhere. And so many things that are free, which is great. Childcare, I know we have I know the college has a big project coming up, but I am wondering if there are other things we can do in the meantime, because I think families have probably been hurting for a number of years. My neighbor's driving, 30 minutes each way to drop off her baby before going to work, and that's it's tiring to do that every day and to know you're going to have to do it for 4 years or 5 years. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about the EDI site. I think I've said before, and like Izzy and I'm sure everyone here, I just want to be sure that whatever we're coming up with is accessible to everyone and that we maintain access to the public in that area, like the physical area. So that's it.
Good, thanks.
Izzy, I love your earrings.
Handmade. I didn't make them.
They're really cool.
Roll off Instagram.
I just have to tell you that.
Thanks.
So I'm Heather Sealy. I feel really weird telling you all my name.
Yeah.
Tell them, teacher.
I I
We're the
lived
only
in
ones watching this. So.
I've lived in Middlebury since I graduated from college. Came back. I was living in Cornwall with my parents. Went away to college. Came back. Moved in with my now husband, and that was in '95. However many years that is. My birthday's next week, and I hit the big 50. Woo! And you know what's really weird is when I was younger, I thought 50 was really old, and now I'm gonna be 50, and I'm like, I am not old.
It's not old. It's not old.
The age of what's old keeps moving for me. I remember being a teenager and thinking like,
You're just talking.
The challenge is we don't have a design where to know what kind of heating
Right.
they would use, for instance.
Right.
right.
I think it's always a challenge talking to like Nick, who's an engineer, to have a consistent, especially where you need consistent humidity and stuff. The heat pump in that old building would be a very big challenge. Reading, the whole heat pump thing has become a really big deal at the State House. So I got a quote to do heat pumps in my house, just my house. And their guesstimates on what it costs for the heat pumps aren't even close. And there's a number of heads you have to do that have to do what I'm doing with just regular system.
Can I ask for a little pause? My wife brought snacks for everybody. I would invite you to join, so everybody's invited to, because I have to break my fast, and
Oh.
I hope you join.
It's time.
Happy breakfast.
Not you, Lindsay. Please join.
This will be the fourth year I don't get invited to eat, I suppose. Want to say hi?
Always about the money.
For the,
You know how long they're going to go tonight?
It's always what it is.
2 hours
In
at the
everything.
max.
It's always about the money.
Yeah.
stops, you know, like it goes 3 bars and then stops at 3 bars.
Yeah, we make it over here.
Are we stopping the recording?
They're still, yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, really.
You know, everybody likes our wives.
We'll
much
keep you
better
on the
than-
select board so your wife will keep bringing us snacks.
Oh, man.
Campaign slogan.
Where do you get those dates? I mean, where do you
Just out
get
of
the dates?
curiosity, how much?
I had a whole case.
Well,
Albany or
we'll talk to taxpayers.
something. Costco has them.
Costco?
Costco has them.
That's really good.
Those are
Right.
really particularly good dates.
What's the tax impact of the municipal building and municipal building?
You limited it to 2 cents on the tax rate.
So have you looked for funding sources that aren't specifically library? Like here, I've just done a Google and there's a community facilities direct loan and grant program in Vermont for building public facilities that include bathrooms. Like what have you looked at?
Yeah, so we've looked at the
Like, can
community
we
facilities
piecemeal
grants,
things?
and we're not really eligible for those.
Okay. For what
Is
reason?
that the USDA?
This, yeah.
Is that income eligible for the grant part?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from you,
We're the right sized town, but
the only, I talked with, the Vermont USDA office, and the only thing we'd be eligible for through their department is, this $50,000 for interior, like furniture and technology.
Okay.
Or they had a specific grant for that. that we could apply
so we'll get that. We'll apply for that at
We'll
some
apply for
point.
that, but yeah, but like the big money
Right.
through USDA, we were
Right.
not
Okay.
eligible for.
Because
That's all right. We'll hit them up for the wastewater treatment plan, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So I have tried to cast a wide net in searching for grants.
Mhm.
I'm cannot pretend to be a grant expert, so I'm sure there are resources out there, but I have really tried to call everyone I can think of at any of these government, state, or federal agencies and talk to them. And it's really tough and frustrating.
Yeah.
Because it seems like we're really just not eligible for much.
Mhm.
And a lot of the ARPA or funding that's been coming out seems to have requirements that we just don't quite meet. Like a huge part of the, it has to be wastewater. Well, that's a really marginal part of what the library project will be. So,
Right.
but if
We'll put a pump station right in the
Right in
main lobby. Will that qualify us for some more?
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying.
I
Can we
think
put a
there's-
child care center in the
Ooh.
library and then we tap
I was
those?
thinking of that earlier.
I'm just saying.
I'm happy, if you know of anyone that is a grant specialist that wants to work with us, I'd be very happy to have the help. But from what I can tell, there's a reason why most libraries have a hard time getting funded or are funded through their towns.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a grant specialist is actually a good idea, though. Might be worth the money.
So far, it seems
Find
like it's a
someone.
lot of work for not a lot of money with a lot of strings attached
Mm-hmm.
on the whole. So,
Yeah.
For the grants.
Yeah, when we're talking about how much we need to get a $20,000.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a lot. It's-
Mm-hmm.
Work for that.
Dave and I were just talking about also recognizing if everything goes, we will see some grand list growth within the community from the growth of the housing. That, because it would not be, I don't know, is there any really connect the housing towards it?
Build a library in the middle of it.
Because it's not a TIF district, you would only have the town's share. So it would get you partway there, maybe 4 cents or something like that. But that's after it's all built out, and I don't know that. Yeah,
Mm.
it's the timing thing. Because I think they're probably looking at the 5-year, something like that. Build out. Certainly, once they get the permitting done. Could go faster, but I just don't think we have that many builders.
Well, I hesitate to bring this up because this is really your purview, and we don't have a whole lot to say about it. But the college in the past has been a very generous partner of the town for many of the projects that we've had, and we know that they already contribute in a big way to this building, to the gym, to the bridge, and so on. Library is essentially an educational institution, as is the college. The college attracts new faculty members. The new faculty members have kids. The kids come to the library. I'd be willing to bet 90% of them are frequent users. Were it possible to approach the college and ask for a contribution that could be over the course of 20 years, could be a pretty modest contribution on an annual basis, but that would add up over the course of time. But I'll leave that in your more experienced hands. But I think that we have found that the college president is well disposed to libraries.
So you've had no discussion at this point?
No, we have not. We'd be happy to, but we don't want to go around what you guys are.
Yeah, I think if we were to approach them about that, it should definitely be you two. Good luck.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I didn't know if you had any conversation. Right. You know, we're out, call it faculty cocktail parties and everything, right?
Yeah. Talk to Andy about that.
Okay. May I ask what, just to give us a target, how much would we each be comfortable asking for a target to add to the property tax rate to support the library? Does anybody get thought to that back in?
I was about to ask you that.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know right now because it's really in the context of everything else, right? If we are still looking at high single digit inflation numbers outpacing incomes around here and that kind of environment, I'm much more reluctant to have a substantial kick up for 20 years in our municipal property. I think that even though that is a long-term investment and part of our role is to think long-term, it's the economics of the month and year that people are thinking about when they vote on investment. And I think that the downside of another failed bond is huge. I want to make sure that we had full force press in favor of this thing and massive support in all of our ducks.
Another failed bond? What was the previous failed bond?
We've never had one. We had a bond fail.
South Street, the same sentence. So the TIF is something new that I don't think that I completely understand, but, I'm just worried about the time frame, which I know you guys are too. And yeah, we could, I think realistically, we'd need to come up with a couple $1 million to put into that building to buy us the time to get the EDI property done and get some buildings built in order for TIF money to be available for the library, and then we're back to square one. I'm assuming that a lot of these grants you're looking at are for new construction and not for renovation or replacement.
Most of these grants are for renovation and replacement.
Oh,
Not-
okay.
There was nothing for.
But the smaller ones, right? Like, we can still apply for these grants if we just renovate and replace some things?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
But at least the Vermont Libraries Capital Project is a one-time grant. So if we don't apply for that this year, we'll miss out on those funds.
So even a $2 million bond to do what we need to do, we're talking about it around roughly 2 cents on the tax rate already. So I think if we could, you asked the question, what would we be comfortable with? If we could figure it out, so we had enough money and had to do a $5 million bond, that I could probably support that. Almost 5 cents on the tax rate. It would be tough. That'd probably be my limit right now, but that's looking for $10 million outside of, money raised in the taxes, and I feel like that's pretty
5
tough.
million will give us option A, not even that.
Yeah.
But I think Heather's proposing combined
Every-
with everything else plus something else as of yet undetermined.
I still think we should look at,
It only takes one person writing a $10 million check. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
you're signing up for that, right?
You don't sign.
I do think we should look at what we
Gotta
could
cash
do
it.
fundraising wise, like selling bookshelves or whatever, I know it's not a lot of money, but
No, and I
To
completely
start
agree.
selling stuff, we need to be prepared to let that stuff go. So that
Yeah.
would be further along in the process, I think, because we still need the shelves.
no.
She
no,
means
no,
like having people
Oh.
sponsor a shelf.
Yeah,
That makes
Yeah.
a lot more sense.
Like
I was
the
like, I
bricks
don't think
over at
we're
town
gonna
hall.
get
Yeah, no,
that
like-
far.
so for my level,
Fundraising initiative.
my level of ability to support the project is
Just
like buying a couple of bookshelves,
The Heather Sealy Financial Line,
Yeah,
there we go.
Mhm.
So
so,
naming opportunities.
yeah, but that are small enough that the average person can participate.
When we visited the South Burlington Public Library, there was a name on the back of every chair in the auditorium.
Yeah.
So there was a price point for every donor who wanted to.
Manchester and South Burlington had names of donors all over the place.
Mhm.
We have it right in our own town. You go over to the town hall theater.
Mhm.
It's a great example of
Mhm.
how they, everything from a brick to a bench to a big plaque.
And they're in the middle of it again
To a studio.
for a lot more money.
And there's a plaque on the wall in this building that also acknowledges people who helped out.
And so that is part of, you were asking about the feasibility study, like the community, if there's 5 other capital campaigns going on all at the same time, that may limit the ability to raise private funds because there's other competing interests for limited dollars.
So timing wise, we think this fall is a good time for a feasibility study in Middlebury. The town hall theater project specifically they'll have entered their public phase and their quiet phase will have been over for a while. And so Christine thought, looking at the local landscape, we're in good shape.
You can play it by ear based upon, if you start seeing banks fail, it's probably different.
Right.
Than if you're seeing a recovery or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think there are probably considerations you ought to keep in your holster so that it's not locked and inflexible.
So though I don't see a decision here among this group, should we move ahead with our process to evaluate these people who have submitted qualifications and then on to that next step of design competition?
I think that's important. I've seen a lot of head nod, and
Okay.
it's not a question of whether the support is there for,
Yep.
that they want.
Yep.
It's how do we pay for it? We don't
Right.
have that solution yet, and so what you promise
Yep.
is probably, that we're looking for something that we can continue to move forward.
Right.
It could be 1, 2, 5, 7, however many years, but.
Yep.
You know,
So then I think the question, we would come back to you in the summer, when we kind of narrowed it down and say, okay, do we go ahead, start working on some drawings now, or, because our plan had been to, and money has been set aside in the capital budget to move ahead with schematic design. So we'll check in with you on that question.
Well, for me, it's a little bit of a question, and maybe this is for your feasibility person. It's a question of cart or horse. Like, people may not be willing to consider donations until they have some idea of what you're trying to build.
Yeah, right.
In which case, you have to get through that process so you can show them, so
Yeah.
what people were willing to donate. Like, if you said, "Oh, we're thinking of building a library," but you couldn't tell me what you were building, I might not be as interested in funding. So
Yeah, I think the plan that we've been working with all along has been to budget to get us through schematic funding, which would allow us to more easily go to donors and would make us more attractive to potential grants in the future. So many of these things want us to be shovel ready. And it's totally cart before the horse. It's like, how do you do that without funding? But I think I'm really confident, and I can continue to express this to all the firms that have submitted their statements of qualification. But I think they all very much understand that whichever firm is awarded the contract for schematic design it would be a separate contract to do construction documents that would be contingent on a funding source. And they know that that's not a given by any stretch. So I feel very comfortable that we're not leading anyone on or anything like that.
it's important also to get as soon as you can, to get us an idea, price on a boiler. And I think when you talk 2 million, you're talking like putting a new roof on and stuff. What would it cost to patch the areas where it's leaking and whatnot? Because if we're going to tear down a bunch of that, I don't think you want to put a new roof on it. We'll have an idea to get you through. And frankly, you're not going to start construction in the middle of the winter, so you got at least one more, even in the absolute best case scenario, you got one more winter in that building. Right?
Yeah.
It's a dreamy scenario.
But yeah, that would be
So,
wonderful if it was just one more winter.
but we can be making decisions on some of those things too, before it's too late. The order and the boiler. I'm not supportive of putting in a whole new heating system when you got a system that works, other than the fact that the boiler.
Oh, I don't know that I would say, well, yeah, I
It's
guess
not-
I mean, the radiators like spew boiling water occasionally, and there's other problems, but yeah, it works.
And Plouffe there almost every week, every other week.
Kloof's is there quite frequently.
We have frequent flyer miles.
We all review the check warrants and we see plenty of repairs.
Been getting your punch card? Like, do you get a free boiler at some point?
We're working our way up to it.
Any other comments? It's at the end, and we got a couple more things.
I am, as a Hillsley board member until last month, I was concerned that the Hillsley 100 team suggested that this option was going to be quicker and easier than the EDI. So that was a part of the sales pitch and the approach that was given. And I thought that might be optimistic, and perhaps unfair to the thought of moving down to the lower water, as well as including the cost of the parking in that, which was not. part of the coverage.
We thought it was quicker than option D.
That's probably
That
us
was the
that did
thing.
that portion.
It was
of
not quicker
wasn't
by any
them.
means, but it was quicker than if we go to the EDI side. That was the,
Potentially,
If we had the money.
if we had the money.
Sure.
And
yes.
I know I'm not really part of the brainstorm part of this, but I was just wondering, the local options tax, I understand we can't increase it, but is it possible to kind of earmark some of that? Like for the next 5 or 10 years, this much surplus of the local option tax is gonna go to the library.
They're already baking it.
Do in the meantime. And even, you know, as we push for additional housing, there are going to be kids
We hope.
you know, so whatever the big project, you know, with Otter Creek comes up, we might still have a shortage. I just think,
Did anybody suggest to the Stone Crop people that they should provide a daycare there or childcare
I don't
facility
think
there?
none of their business model includes anything but residential, like there's no
Good idea,
business.
That would be
Be
good.
perfect place to
Yeah.
build one.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea to have something. as a-
company store, you know, you don't get your day pass until
Corner
you buy something.
On the other side, we have people pushing the other way. So.
Well, I'll reach out and see what I can find out, and I'll share that information with Brian, Kathleen, and let them decide where it makes most sense for that to go. Does that work?
Yeah, because if we wanted to do that as part of, say, block a half an hour or something, and we posted it out, we might get some of the interest. People would come speak to us about that. We can knock that up, get some education in half an hour.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it.
Did I have?
We got anything else?
So no other retreats or anything else we're planning for right now?
If there is small subject matters, we can discuss in our regular meetings, right?
Sure.
Instead of having a whole day.
We can. How much lead time to put something on the agenda? You send those out?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Ideally, it would be early in the week before.
Yeah. Obviously
At
not
the
Monday
absolute
or
latest.
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so early Monday, Tuesday, the week before.
Actually, it has to be before noon on Tuesday the week before because it goes to the paper
Okay.
on
Oh.
Tuesday at noon before the meeting.
She sends you and I the draft agenda.
Yeah.
So that's your last opportunity. When you see that draft agenda.
Yeah.
That's your last
Okay.
opportunity to have input.
I want to talk about this. Get that in there. Okay.
Well, yeah, asking you.
Very good, thank
You have no control.
Well, there are requirements, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, we know our position. So we don't even get the draft.
Anything else anybody has? I do think we may, if, as the summit plan goes, we may want to, at some point, it may be large enough to be a meeting if we talk about the infrastructure support and what the community can use for support.
Yes.
I just don't think we're quite ready for that yet.
Yeah.
As they're developing their portion, I think theirs needs to be a little bit more developed in an aspect of what they're really looking for support from.
I'm excited to see how they're gonna do all that infrastructure for $6 million.
I've heard you say that before.
One
Do you have,
thing that I've often thought about to help make multi-unit things cheaper is
Ryan?
to,
do we have no board member concerns today?
Yes, we'll do that.
we got one right now. If you've got a, say, 4 or 6 unit building, the water bill is divided into a service charge and then a usage charge. It seems to me that the service charges for the pipes and the usage charges for the preparation of the water and the delivery of it to the spigot. And that really, if you've got 4 units on one pipe, maybe one usage charge divided among those units would be reasonable.
No,
Why?
because I want all my money.
Whose possession?
Obviously, the
So-
cost of the water system needs to be supported by the income of it.
Right.
However,
We've had a lot of conversations about how you break up the cost fairly, like, so you divide it, how you divide it between your base rate and your usage rate, so
Yes.
that everybody's paying, a similar share. We had that person come in and talk to us, a number of years ago and
Okay.
help us reevaluate.
This would be a good topic for you guys to talk about over coffee.
On your own.
Well,
no, that's a good idea.
because you may learn something that may change your mind, or you may become more firmly entrenched. But I would suggest, the 2 people I would suggest are Heather and Susan Shasha. They worked that project
Okay.
and brought it to the board, because we were at the point where we were really in need of additional funding if we were going to sustain our water.
Sure.
And that's what we have now, is what came up out of that whole project.
Plus you have the cost of each meter
Yeah.
and the bill.
Concerns, Isabel?
I'm good.
Farhad?
Well, I have no concerns, but no, you don't get to hear this kind of message in an American town meeting where I would say Ramadan Kareem to everybody. And my wife will be so happy that you guys liked her food. I'm gonna go lie to her that she didn't give me enough food or something.
Does she listen to our
It
meetings?
should be a regular event, actually.
Yeah, sure. Once a year.
Well, I'm gonna stop in the store tomorrow and find her and tell her
Yeah,
the
does
truth.
she listen in? Does she ever watch the meetings? No, of course not.
No,
Tool?
thank you for joining me in the food. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing, Dan?
Me. I don't think I have anything. As we're going into committee assignments for the year, for us, but also in general, I think we should think about how we can encourage younger people to join committees. Izzy's brought it up before. I know when the team from the DEI committee interviewed some of the teens at the teen center, they expressed interest in that. And I think it's a good training ground. I think we get the rare kid, but I think we could probably advertise in such a way that it would interest people, or,
How old do you have to be on a committee? Do you have to be a voter? What do you?
That's-
I was going to say, why don't we make a youth position on all of our committees?
We had a high school
And-
kid before.
Huh?
We had a high school kid in one of the committees.
Yeah, one of the Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So
yeah, we've had,
just add a high school position.
We had some positions and they showed for like 1 or 2 meetings.
Yeah.
So sustaining.
I think it's hard with school, I think there'd have to be some conversation with the school.
There is a lot of talent though in the high school.
Oh, yeah.
Like those 2 kids who interviewed all the ACSD candidates on the MCTV.
Mhm.
Anjali, right, the girl? Ezra.
Oh,
They did a great
Nargis?
job. No,
Yeah, she's going to Yale.
there is a lot of talent.
She's very smart. Yeah, I think we should consider it, like earmarking, a better, like, whatever. That's my one thought. I'll be quiet now.
I'm all set.
Andy?
Thanks.
Okay. Seeking a motion for adjournment,
I
Move.
move.
Oop, second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tell your wife, thanks. That was really good stuff.